So I've been sitting here for a couple of minutes actually, debating about whether or not I actually want to recap the Bills' 40-0 win over Houston. And I'm gonna. I've decided that I'm going to. But it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. It feels unfair, actually, because the game on Sunday itself felt unfair. I can't imagine what it must have been like for Texans fans, especially the Texans fans that traveled to the game, to just know that your quarterback is incapable of leading a scoring drive. You're not going to score. I mean, the game was like 10, maybe 13-0, and I said to the person next to me, like, this is over. Houston is not kicking 5 field goals or scoring 2 touchdowns. Like, this is not happening. The Bills are made at 13-0 because Houston is that bad. They are every bit as bad of a team as everyone thought they were going to be before the season. Granted, there was an injury to their starting quarterback, Tyrod Taylor. And as I touched on last week, they were pretty competitive with Tyrod. They defeated Jacksonville week 1. They scored like 37 points. They were competitive for half a game against Cleveland. And then Tyrod, on a rushing touchdown, injures his hamstring. And all competitiveness is lost. They stand no chance with Davis Mills. This might be the type of situation where, well, one, you have to go back to Tyrod when he's healthy enough. And I don't know his long-term status. But 2, they sign somebody, maybe like Cam Newton or something. Just play anybody else. The Bills were in this type of situation a few years back in Josh's rookie year when he injured his elbow, and they started Peterman against Chicago, and they lost 41-9 or something. I just think that like McDermott couldn't look in the faces of the veterans of that locker room, like Lorenzo Alexander and such, and be like, guys, we have a chance with this guy. I don't know how David Culley can do that with Davis Mills. And that's why the Bills ended up going to like Derek Anderson and Matt Barkley. Like they would just start anybody but Nathan Peterman again. And I think that's what Houston has to do. Like, you know, he's a third-round rookie, okay? Growing pains or whatever, development, yada, yada. No. He looked like a fringe CFL player, okay, on Sunday. And I know the weather is bad. I know it's bad. It's bad for both teams, though. It just looked from right away, right from the get-go, they were just in way over their heads. Holding penalty on the first play, Mills drops back to pass, and the ball slips out of his hands. Now, guys, the weather was terrible, okay? If you were at the game, you know it was terrible. If you were watching on TV, it was every bit as bad as it might have looked. Okay, it wasn't like torrential downpours, but it was like this constant misty wetness that like it just soaks up like even the brim of your hat so much that like the brim of your hat starts dripping and your clothes are just all wet and just soaking wet. Okay, not great for fans, but credit to the Bills fans, they packed that stadium. They were there most of the game, even when the game was like 26-0. Like, I mean, honestly, like I said, you probably could have left it 13-0. The game was made. But a lot of Bills fans hung out till the end. Good for them. You know, it's an exciting time. We haven't seen the team really live much in 2 years. So, you know, and this is as good as they've been maybe ever. So I applaud you guys, really. I applaud all the fans, all the Bills fans for hanging out, for still showing up, for hanging out, going through all the elements there, because it's in an October game or September-October game, you're still hoping for good weather, obviously. We get like 4 of them a year, 4 nice weather matchups a year, and for it to just downpour on one of them is kind of depressing. Anyway, I've gone on way too far about the weather. My point on the weather is that it was the same for both teams, and Davis Mills was just absolutely lost. I mean, the Texans had 109 total yards. I think they had like 8 at halftime. I mean, Stephon Diggs had 114 receiving yards by himself. So he had 114 receiving. Houston had 109 total. Davis Mills, 11 of 21, 87 yards, 3 sacks, 4 picks. A lot of people want to point to the Bills' defense, say great job. Yeah, sure. The Bills' defense has been very good most of the season so far. All of the season, really. I still think context is necessary, okay? I don't mean to rain on your parade, to be ants at your picnic, but I think context is important. I think the Bills' defense is good. Maybe even very good. Are they great? I'm not ready to go there just yet. Are they like elite, top-tier defense? I'm not ready to go there. I think there's a very good chance, at least now because of the start they've had over the first quarter of the season, that they finish in the top 10, maybe even top 6 in the league in defense. But context. Okay, just as an example, last week I talked about some contenders, pretenders maybe in the AFC. Denver got brought up. So Denver was 3-0. They played Jacksonville, the Giants, and the Jets, who were all combined 0-9. And then they have a home game against Baltimore. And granted, Teddy Bridgewater gets injured with a concussion, and that doesn't help. But were they winning that game with Teddy Bridgewater? Probably not. Okay, they lose 23-7 at home to Baltimore. So guess what? Denver, you're a pretender until further notice. Okay? You're just not, you're just not impressive to me. I'm not even including you. You're 3-1. Like, nobody in the AFC is undefeated anymore. There's a bunch of 3-1 teams: Bills, Bengals, Ravens, Browns, Chargers, Vegas, Denver. I'm not counting on Denver. Kansas City is still ahead of Denver to me, even though they're not ahead of them in the standings. Kansas City might even be ahead of Vegas. The only team that I'm really thinking about in there is the only teams that I'm thinking about in the AFC West are the Chiefs and the Chargers. We're going to talk about the Chiefs very shortly, but I want to finish my point on context. The Bills have played 3 consecutive backup quarterbacks: Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, who's had a couple nice games, and obviously Davis Mills. I mean, Davis Mills might be the worst starting quarterback in the league currently. Taylor Heineke is certainly not the worst, because obviously Davis Mills is. If you look at Taylor Heineke and Davis Mills, you're taking Taylor Heineke 10 days out of 10. It's not even close. But they got a little bit fortunate with Heineke making his first career road start. He put together a nice game last week against Atlanta. They won the game. Different type of opponent, obviously, the Bills and the Falcons. And the defense obviously is a part of that. Okay, they're included. They're good. I've admitted that. I've admitted as much. They're good. Okay. And then Jacoby Brissett, like the Miami's just weird. Miami's very good on defense, but they have a better chance of gaining like 20 yards on a play than they do like 3, 5, 7, 10. It's really weird. They have a better chance of just throwing it deep for Parker or Waddle than they do of moving the chains successfully, like on first and second down. Weird team to me. The Bills seem to be like coasting to the AFC East title. It's week 5. I know, a little early, but Miami, New England, the Jets, all 1-3. Bills 3-1, 1-0 in the division. Let's go. Let's be on with it. They're heavy favorites in Vegas, like -7 or 800. Okay, so Bills they're looking pretty for the division. Because, like I said, they're good. Getting back to the context thing, I keep getting away from it, and I apologize. Big Ben might be the best example of being washed. I've talked about it like 3 times this season already. Guy is just terrible. I still don't really know how the Steelers managed to beat the Bills. A little bit fluky, and that's kind of where my point is coming back to, is a little bit of luck, a little bit of advantageous scheduling, things like that. The schedule is what it is. You can't change it, so you can only play it. Doesn't mean the Bills aren't a little bit fortunate to have, had 3 games lined up in the way that they did. Miami, they get a backup quarterback. Washington, they get a backup quarterback. Houston, they get a backup quarterback. That's a little lucky. Those are things that are out of your control. They might have won the game anyway, with all 3 of those teams having starting quarterbacks. But my point on luck is like that. Things that are out of your control are luck. And people like to point at certain things. Like, people just get mad when you call a team lucky. And this happened a couple of years ago when I said that Tennessee was kind of lucky. And Titans fans just freaked out on me in the comments. Freaked out. And then the Bills beat them. So point proven, okay? The point is that, like, anything out of your control is luck. Can be considered luck, in a way. Kansas City, good example. Because we're going to talk about Kansas City, obviously. I want to get to them. Our nemesis. Can we call them a nemesis? They beat us in the AFC Championship. They beat us last year on... Was that the double Monday Night Football? Is that how that worked? It was supposed to be Thursday, but there was postponement. What a weird situation that was. Anyway, the weather in that game was bad as well. Didn't matter for Patrick Mahomes. He was still like 21 of 26. Clyde Edwards-Helaire ran all over the Bills that day. Anyway. Final point on like luck, advantageous positions and stuff. people look at things that like happen in games like, oh man, good things always happen to those teams. Like the Chiefs, the Patriots were the kings of this for 20 years. It's like, man, good things just always happen to them. Why do things always go their way? And I think that if you were to sit down and watch a lot of football games, the bad teams probably wouldn't have as many good things go their way because they're bad. But like a lot of even average teams have things go their way all the time. The difference is those teams go 3 and out after those opportunities. Or, they just don't take advantage of them. And the Chiefs, like week 1 against Cleveland, the punter drops the punt. Chiefs put it in the end zone 2 plays later, obviously. Like, they're the Chiefs. You just can't make those type of mistakes against them. Capitalizing on fortunate opportunities is huge. That's what takes luck like to the next level. You get a lucky break, you score on it. That's why you're so good. Part of the reason why you're so good, because you're good to begin with. So if you're also like getting these lucky breaks, you're going to be even better. Anyway, Chiefs, Bills. A lot of fans are worried to think a little bit about Matt Milano looking like he's not going to play the game. He is not practicing throughout the week. That it's concerning, I suppose. He's a fantastic player, obviously. But if you kind of look back to last year, the Bills played Matt Milano in like 98% of the snaps in the AFC Championship game, and they got killed. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce were just running rampant. They had like 22 catches for 290 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mahomes had 325, 290 to Hill and Kelce. Milano was in for that game. A.J. Klein was not. I'm not saying A.J. Klein is better than Matt Milano, okay? But A.J. Klein played the majority of the snaps in like that weird Monday Night Football game that the Bills lost 26-17 because Matt Milano was injured. And Mahomes still had a nice passing day, and the Bills were content, looked like, to just give up rushing yards. That might have even been their strategy that day. Just don't let Mahomes beat you. And then he still does. He goes 21 of 26, 240 some odd yards, makes a brilliant play on 3rd and 12 to basically seal the game, to Byron Pringle, of all people. That's how it works with that guy. I mean, he's fantastic. He's the best quarterback currently in the league, right? He's the best pure passer in the NFL, right up there with Rodgers. If you want to go 1A, 1B with it, with like just making jaw-dropping throws, that's them, right? 1A and 1B, Mahomes and Rodgers. Anyway, like, A.J. Klein seems like he's going to be in for a bigger role again, and I guess I don't necessarily want to say they were successful with it earlier in the season last year because CEH ran just nuts against them for like 161 yards. I don't think he put together a game like that for the rest of the season. And, I saw a tweet that I thought was interesting in that CEH does do something for the Chiefs, and it's that he makes them stoppable. Now, if you're the Bills or any opponent, anytime they hand the football off, you're probably saying thank you. Because anytime they're not letting Patrick Mahomes, their best player, take the reins, so to speak, they're doing you a favor. But, I mean, CEH still averaging like 5 yards a carry. I know he had 2 pretty big fumbles for them earlier in the season. One directly led to a loss to the Ravens. Doesn't make him a bad player. I mean, if I had Patrick Mahomes, would I be throwing more often than not? Yes. I mean, they are. They have 79 rushing attempts with CEH and Darrell Williams, 141 passing attempts with Mahomes. So, the ratio there is, 2 to 3, basically. You know who they're throwing to. They're going to Hill, they're going to Kelce. I already talked about what they did to the Bills in the AFC Championship last game. I mean, if you're the Bills, this is the time. Like, this is where you can put your stamp on home field. You can't really worry too much about what the Bengals and the Ravens and the Browns are doing. You don't play them. You can worry about what is going on with who's in front of you, and that right now is the Chiefs. And the Chiefs took home field last year, so you should look at them at this as your opportunity to, like I said, put your stamp on home field. They might not be the favorite to win the division right now. That could be the Chargers. The Chargers have a leg up on them. They're a game up. They have beat them in head-to-head, and they won in Arrowhead. So that's good for the Chargers, but that you can't worry about that right now. If you're thinking about home field, you're thinking about the next 2 weeks, really. Kansas City, Tennessee. This is your opportunity. I don't know where I'm at with this game. I'm nervous about it because it's the truest test of the Bills' defense so far. Like I said, the Bills have not faced great quarterbacking, great passing yet this season. They're in for it now. Like, Tyreek Hill is the best receiver they're going to face so far. Travis Kelce is by far the best tight end they've faced so far. Patrick Mahomes is by far the best quarterback they've played so far. Andy Reid is probably the best head coach they've played against so far. Chiefs have been bad on defense. They're flat out bad. They might get Frank Clark back this weekend. I don't really know what's up with Frank Clark. He's got these like weapons charges against him. He's in court. Apparently, Chiefs fans hate him. I didn't really know this, but like they don't really like him. They think he's a drain on the salary cap and just a drain on the team in general. Maybe if you're a Chiefs fan, you came this far in the video. First of all, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you. I appreciate the heck out of you, and I'm happy to talk Bills, Chiefs, general football with you at any point. But maybe you can shed some light on what's going on with the Frank Clark situation, because it looks like he's finally going to play. He's finally practicing for them. So he'll play for the first time since week 1, I believe. And he had a couple sacks against the Bills in the AFC Championship last year. He was pretty good. Chris Jones, obviously still there. You know, and maybe pass rush has been the Chiefs' biggest problem, but they can't really cover anybody either. I mean, I'm looking at their passing yards against, or total yards against, really. 457, 481, 352, 461. Not great. Not great. Not forcing turnovers. They haven't forced a turnover since week 2 against Baltimore. The Bills, likewise, have forced 11 since then. I went through all that. I got to wrap this up. I'm picking the Chiefs. Until I see the Bills beat the Chiefs, I'm going to pick the Chiefs. 30-27. Chiefs over Bills. I hope I'm wrong. Make me eat my words. Prove it to me. Show it. Guys, hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Sunday Night Football. As always, above all else, go Bills.